Hello everyone. So far we have been discussing topics which are based more on, descriptive side of the multivariate statistics. Now we have to move to the inferential part of multivariate statistics. You have studied in BSc that whenever you want to go from sample to population, so if you want to talk only about sample, descriptive things are enough. However, if you want to talk about population, you need to go into the inferential details. For example, sample mean is okay, but what can I say about population mean using that sample mean? Can I give some confidence interval for the population mean, etc. So for such discussions we need inferential theory, and for that we need some distributional assumptions. You know that in univariate setup most of our theory is based on normal distribution. Because of the central limit theorem we could see that sample mean, for example, for almost all the distributions would later converge to normal distribution with appropriate norming, and then we use the theory from asymptotic normal distribution to get inferential results such as confidence intervals for the population means or developing test statistics related to population mean, etc. In the multivariate setup also, our aim is finally to reach at that point. So far, even though we did not have any distributional assumption, now when we want to go into inference, we need to have some distributional theory ready with us. Hence, now we are going to study multivariate normal distribution. I'm sure many of you have already studied multivariate normal distribution, but we will have a quick recap so that you know our theory is ready with us. So let me start with a very simple case. So let x1, x2, xp be independent and identically distributed standard normal random variable. Okay, all these are univariate. x1, x2, xp are IID standard normal random variables, and we define x as now their vector x1, x2, xp. So what can we say about joint distribution of this vector? We know the PDF of individual xi because each of them is standard normal, and we know that if random variables are independent, then their joint distribution is product of their marginal distributions. Okay, you might have or you would study this in probability theory course. So if I want to find joint PDF of x at some vector x, because these xi's are independent, I can write this as product over I going from 1 to p f xi at xi, where this vector x is x1, x2, xp. Is it okay? Okay, so let me substitute sum over I going from 1 to p. What is the individual PDF? Because each individual xi is standard normal, this would be 1 upon root 2 pi e raised to minus half xi square. Correct? I have sigma equal to 1, so I don't need to worry about it. So this would become 1 upon 2 pi raised to p by 2, okay, e raised to minus half sum over I going from 1 to p xi square. Okay. In fact, I can try to write this in a vector form, and this would become 1 upon 2 pi raised to p by 2 e raised to minus half. This I could write as x prime x, where x is this vector. Is it okay? So this becomes my joint PDF of a vector, p-dimensional vector, if every component is a standard normal random variable and all the components are independent of each other. But of course, this is a very simplistic scenario. In most of the real life situations, my components need not be independent of each other. I could possibly put a condition that okay, I want to deal with only those vectors where every component is normal, but independence won't be guaranteed. For example, a typical bivariate setup would be, say, recording height and weight of a person. then height and weight are definitely going to be correlated. They can't be independent. In fact, we want to go ahead and talk about, say, distribution of BMI. Then you need BMI as a function of height and weight, and hence you need joint normality of height and weight so that you can talk something about BMI. Okay. So, what to do in such scenario? Can we introduce some way in which we can generalize this result to the case where components are not independent of each other? Now here our univariate theory is going to help us again. So you remember in univariate setup, suppose you have, say, a random variable y which follows normal distribution with, say, mean mu and variance sigma square. Then you go and define z as y minus mu upon sigma, and then you can prove that z follows normal distribution with zero mean and unit variance. Correct? This we have already established in the univariate setup. Can I have something similar in the multivariate setup? So we have already defined what is multivariate mean, so subtracting mean is not an issue. The problem comes when I reach to this part. First of all, I can't keep, my sigma is a matrix now. So I can't just bring it to denominator. I'll have to talk about its inverse or something like that. Okay. And the problem is I need sigma here, not sigma square. So I'll need to have some sort of square root of my sigma matrix. Okay. Are you following what I'm trying to say? To develop a theory which is analogous to what happens in the univariate setup, I will need to define some sort of square root of this sigma matrix. Okay. So how do I do that? Now there are a couple of ways of doing it. First way is via spectral decomposition. So suppose let us assume that sigma is non-singular. So if sigma is non-singular, then I can compute sigma raised to minus half. Okay. Can be obtained. Of course, sigma is symmetric and all we already know since it's a variance coherence matrix. So sigma raised to minus half can be obtained via spectral decomposition. Okay, with eigenvalues and all that stuff. You know this, right? Further, we also know that sigma raised to minus half will also be a symmetric matrix, a square matrix and a symmetric matrix. Okay, then what would I do? So suppose I have some vector y which I am going to now define as mu plus sigma raised to half, let me call this z, where z, every component of z is IID, univariate, normal, standard normal. Okay, all zi's are normal 0, 1. Then what can I say about distribution of this quantity? So expectation of y would be mu, because expectation of z is 0, and variance of y would be sigma raised to half variance of z into sigma raised to half prime. But because sigma is symmetric and because variance of z is an identity matrix, this would be sigma. So I can force my y to have desired mean and variance. Of course, we have not yet talked about distribution of y. What we know is distribution of z. So let us try to find what is distribution of y. So how do I do that? I can try to make use of this relationship between y and z. And because z is again a vector formed from components which are independent standard normal random variables, I can try to use MGF, moment generating function. Okay, so if Zi follows standard normal random variable, then we know something about MGF of Zi. What do we know? it will be expectation of e raised to tzi, that is your formula for MGF, and this we know is e raised to mu t. So here mu is 0, so 0 plus half t square, sigma square is missing, 1. So this is simply e raised to half t square, correct? So I can try to make use of this MGF to get distribution of the vector y. Okay, so I want MGF of this vector. So MGF of a vector we will define as expectation of e raised to t prime y. Okay, where t is in Rp, of course with some conditions. So t prime y I could write as e raised to t prime, and y we have written as mu plus sigma raised to half z. Okay, so this would become e raised to t prime mu, because mu is also a vector, into e raised to sigma raised to half z, and of course this t prime has to stay here. Okay, t and mu, t, mu, sigma all are constants, so e raised to t prime mu comes outside the MGF, and I'm left with expectation of e raised to t prime sigma raised to half z. Okay, what do I know about MGF of vector z? Let me call this star and we'll come back to this. So individual z's are normal 0, 1. So MGF of z at some vector say tau will be expectation of e raised to tau prime z. This would be expectation of e raised to summation tau I zi, I going from 1 to p, correct? Tau prime z dot product definition. This we know because zi's are independent, would be expectation of e raised to tau I zi product over I going from 1 to p, correct? And we know each of these, so this is product over I going from 1 to p e raised to half tau I square, because each zi is standard normal, so this will be e raised to half summation tau I square, so this will be e raised to tau prime tau, correct? I'm sorry, my z and tau are probably looking similar, but I hope you can make out the difference. Okay, so MGF of a standard normal random vector would be this. Okay, so this z, which has p-variate normal distribution with mean vector 0 and variance coherence matrix identity, because all the components are independent, they are uncorrelated, this will be called as standard p-variate normal vector. Okay, standard p-variate normal vector, and this is MGF of that. Okay, MGF of standard p-variate normal vector. Now we have to talk about MGF of, in general, any p-variate normal vector. So MYT, we'll continue with the star equation. So MYT was e raised to t prime mu is anyway sitting outside, and I have expectation of e raised to t prime sigma raised to half z. Okay, so this t prime sigma raised to half, let me give this a new name. What is the order? So t prime is 1 cross p, sigma raised to half is p cross p, so order is again 1 cross p, so let me call it b prime. So b prime is t prime sigma raised to half, this means b is sigma raised to half t. Okay. So this becomes e raised to t prime mu expectation of e raised to b prime z. And just now we derived mgf of z, which is this. So I'll get e raised to t prime mu, and expectation of e raised to b prime z would be e raised to b prime b. Okay, by whatever we have derived here in this equation. So this is e raised to t prime mu, and what is b prime b? B prime b, let me substitute value of b, so it will be t prime sigma raised to half, and then b is sigma raised to half t. So what do I have? I have e raised to t prime mu and e raised to t prime sigma t. Okay, of course I have forgotten by 2 here. This summation tau I square, when I convert to this, it has to have by 2, so that by 2 will come in here and then in here and hence in here. So I have e raised to t prime mu plus half t prime sigma t. This is PDF of y. Okay, and you can see here this is actually, in fact we define this to be mgf of p variate normal vector. Okay, this is mgf of p variate normal vector. Is it okay? Now what does MGF tell me? MGF tells me that okay, this is how you can probably define multivariate normal distribution. Means what? I can give one definition of multivariate normal as any vector whose MGF is in this form can be called as a multivariate normal vector. Okay, because MGF has the property of, characterization of distribution can be done via MGF. So any vector whose MGF can be written in this form would become a normal vector with mean mu and variance sigma. Okay. So whatever we have derived in terms of MGF, we can also have an equivalent PDF definition. So we have PDF of standard p-variate normal distribution here. Let me go back. Yes, see this. Okay, so this is our definition of PDF of standard p-variate normal vector. From here we can try to obtain PDF of any arbitrary p-variate normal vector. So let me copy this in terms of Z. So PDF of Z is fzz is 1 upon 2 pi raised to p by 2 e raised to minus half z prime z. Correct. Now we are defining y as mu plus sigma raised to half z. So z would then be sigma raised to minus half y minus mu, assuming that sigma is non-singular. If sigma is singular, then anyway PDF won't exist. Okay. So if I want to compute if I want to derive PDF of y using PDF of z, I need to use Jacobian. Jacobian is derivative of old with respect to new. So here this would be sigma and determinant of that. So sigma raised to minus half and determinant of that. Okay. So now my PDF of y would be this PDF of z only to be written in terms of y. So minus half z prime would be, z is this sigma raised to minus half y minus mu. So z prime would be y minus mu prime sigma raised to minus half, because sigma is symmetric, sigma raised to minus half is symmetric, and z would be sigma raised to half y minus mu. Okay, I'm going a bit fast because I assume you have already done most of these things. Okay, so 1 upon 2 pi raised to p by 2 and of course Jacobian. So Jacobian is determinant of sigma raised to minus half. So I'll have it here, determinant of sigma raised to minus half, e raised to minus half, y minus mu prime, sigma raised to minus half and sigma raised to minus half. So this becomes sigma raised to minus 1, y minus mu. Okay, so this is 1 upon determinant of sigma raised to half, because I have taken it in the denominator, so minus sign is gone, 2 pi raised to p by 2, e raised to minus half, y minus mu prime, sigma inverse, y minus mu. Okay, so this is actually PDF of any p-variate normal distribution, p-variate normal vector. Okay, so how do you define p-variate normal distribution? You say that a given random variable, a given random vector has p-variate normal distribution if its PDF can be written in this form. Okay, or if its MGF can be written in the form that we discussed earlier. Okay, so we have derived MGF as well as PDF of general p-variate normal distribution. There are some properties of PDF and properties of in general normal random vector. For example, every component has to be a random vector, every sub vector has to be a random vector, etc., etc. So we will study those in the next lecture. Okay, so let me stop here. Thank you.